name is Stephen Pope. I'm the founder of My Amazon Guy, and we just started a new service called My Agency Guy, where we come in and help other agencies, and today's show is going to be dedicated to them. So we're going to have behind the scenes, we've got guests that are going to come on air and ask me live questions. And if you would like to join us and ask me a question live on camera, you can spend about 10 minutes with me on camera. We'll put a link right there in the top YouTube comment as well as the YouTube description. My name is Stephen Pope. I'm the founder of My Amazon Guy, and we just started a new service called My Agency Guy, where we come in and help other agencies, and today's show is going to be dedicated to them. So we're going to have behind the scenes, we've got guests that are going to come on air and ask me live questions. And if you would like to join us and ask me a question live on camera, you can spend about 10 minutes with me on camera. We'll put a link right there in the top YouTube comment as well as the YouTube description. Going live in a minute here. If you want to ask me a question live on camera, click the link. Join us on StreamYard. Hello, welcome to the My Agency Guy AMA. Today, my name is Stephen Pope. I'm the founder of My Amazon Guy, $20 million agency, and My Agency Guy, which is our ability to train other agencies to help them grow in the Amazon and otherwise digital marketing space. So today, we're going to be taking live guests on camera. If you want to ask me a question, maybe you're thinking about starting an agency or you already have one, this is the appropriate time to click on that StreamYard link. Join me, come behind the scenes. We'll pull you up on camera. You do need to have a webcam on so people can see you, and we'll answer any question that I can do to help you out. In the meantime, while we wait for our first guests, I'm going to be answering live questions in the comments section as well. But first, so if you have a written question, you're too shy to come on camera, go ahead and type that out in the comments section. But we are going to give priority to live guests, just as a heads up. But first, just to give you an idea of what we've been up to. So we have created SOPs for both how to run an Amazon, and we sell those over at myamazonguy.com/SOP. And we've created SOPs for agencies, which are over at myguy.agency. Separate agency program from SOPs to how to run an Amazon brand. Number one question I get. So just want to knock that out from the get-go. We have another service we're going to be launching here in the next couple of weeks called the Brand Strategist Playbook. And this Strategist Playbook will allow, and you can call it the no BS playbook, if you know what I mean. Working on the marketing there. And that will give you the ability to understand everything that's required to strategize to grow a brand on Amazon. And so that'll be really helpful if you want to train your brand managers, your account managers at an agency, or if you're a brand yourself selling on Amazon. There's also some benefits to having those strategies. You know, it's like 75 plays strong. It's kind of like a football team. You give this playbook to your quarterback, your brand manager, and they decide which play to run, when to run it on which account. A lot of benefit to that. So those are the things we've been up to of late. My agency is set to grow 30% this year. I'm super excited about that. Last year, we grew 40%. We actually post a full case study showing all of our growth and our actual numbers and what we've been up to over the last 6 years. On April 2nd, that was 2 days ago, we turned 6 years old. I started the agency out of my basement, and I posted on LinkedIn asking and saying, hey, I'm going to start consulting. Does anybody need help with Amazon? Within 48 hours, I had my first contract signed. And that client is still a client today. So I'm super excited about that journey. We now have 500 employees over at My Amazon Guy. So just real quick, I'm going to show you over at myguy.agency. This is the case study page. You can see this right here. And I'm going to click on that. Just wanted to show you guys like how much data is over here. So if you're looking for just like how to replicate my process, we share quite a bit. We even share like when we onboarded our first CRM and used HubSpot, and all the data here. And you can see the revenue charts, and we'll update 2024 at some point. So just a lot of cool content. One of the things I get asked about the most is how to generate new business acquisition. And everybody knows referrals are cool and all that, but that's not really that scalable. And so this quad right here is a very good indication of the 4 ways to do lead gen. This is very much out of the Alex Hormozi playbook, but warm outreach, one-to-one, one-to-many gets content. So these reds are people you know, and content created my inbound process. And that got me up to $10 million in annual gross revenue. Over time, I started an outreach program that was cold to people I didn't know. And then we started running paid ads about 5 or so months ago. And that's what I'm hoping is going to get me up to 50 million. So got to 10 million with content, 20 million with cold outreach, and then hoping to get up to 50 with running paid ads. And that so far, we're getting about an 8 times ROAS or a little bit better than that. So it's not easy as we try and figure that out, but it's been fun. All right, so let's go to our first live guest. Bev, how are you doing?
Good.
How can we help you on your agency journey today? Might have a little connection issue here. Bev, can you hear me?
Yeah. I'm getting an echo here.
All right. All right. Yeah, you want to shut off the YouTube while you're on the StreamYard. But yeah, go ahead and ask me your question.
Okay. All right. Sorry. Yes. So I've been running an Amazon account management agency for a few years now, and we've been focusing on full account management for Amazon. So everything from PPC, logistics, customer service, marketing, the whole thing. And so that's very, it's not very scalable though. And what we found over the last few years is that it's very, very time intensive. And as you know, margins are going down. The manpower required to run these accounts is going up. And so it's just not a scalable, sustainable situation for us to be offering the full account management anymore. We have very good systems and good team members in place for all these departments. And so my question is really what you think we could or should be focusing on, where the main demand is to create more productized services, where we can, because there's so many ways we could go with this, and it's just, but using them to how to go from where we are to where we want.
Yeah, there is a lot of ways we could dialogue on this. This is a deep question, and we'll go down a few rabbit holes, and you can tell me kind of which rabbit hole you like the most. Sound good?
Yeah.
All right. So first question is, have you asked your customers the following questions? What should we start doing? What should we stop doing? What should we do more of? And these questions, particularly worded that way, are very revealing, because if all of your customers are saying, yeah, we wish you did more, fill in the blank, PPC, then you would know, okay, of the full service account management, nobody said logistics. I need to go cut that and focus on PPC. And then all of a sudden, your margins are freed up. They're still paying you the same, but they're happier. Right. So have you dialogued with customers at all to kind of diagnose like what they like, dislike, or want more of?
Not the customers that we have now, because really most of the clients that we have been around for like 4 or 5 years. So client retention is not an issue for us. But one of those reasons, I think, is because we literally do everything for them. So it's not, and we get good results. So, but we've never had any boundaries in place with the clients that we have now in terms of what we do and what's needed to sustain the business has just gone up and up. So to ask them that question, what would you like us to do more of? I guess they would probably say something like external things. We don't do anything outside of Amazon. We don't do TikTok or Google ads or any of that external stuff. We're just focused on the Amazon. So I think that might be the answer to the question, but we pretty much do everything so thoroughly for them right now. I think that might be a question that we would have to go out and ask other people. Yeah.
I'm going to ask a question. You don't have to answer this if you're not comfortable, but if you can, it's helpful. How big is your agency? How many clients or how many employees? Anything you're willing to share?
So we have about 8 core team members and a few ad hoc people. They're not all full-time, more fractional.
Got it.
Clients around 5, but they're very time intensive. We can spend 150, 200 hours on one account a month.
What I'm hearing you say is you serve large accounts. Are you more of an enterprise focus or mid-market or small to medium business?
I would say medium to mid-market. Yeah.
Okay. So the larger your clientele is, the more services they typically expect. So one of the things that you may want to do is figure out, is your current client set the ICP, the ideal customer profile of your future? Is that what you want, right? Is that what you're seeking, right? Now, if you go through the motions and you say yes, then it makes your decisions easy, and you just double down on what's working and slough off what's not. If there is, however, a desire to switch the ICP, then you have to ask the same questions I did, the start, stop, more, to do some market research on the market you're chasing, right? So my experience has been enterprise brands want more than just Amazon. Mid-market wants more than just Amazon. Small to medium business are typically native-born Amazon brands, and they don't really care to go off of the platform. I mean, they say they do, but they don't really care, right? Like, yeah, I want to try Walmart, and we try Walmart for 60 to 90 days, and they get $1,000 in sales, and they're like, this is stupid, I don't want to do this anymore, right? Like they're very short investment cycle, right? So they're very comfortable on the Amazon platform, and they don't care if they focus elsewhere. So, but when you figure out what your customers like the most of what you do, it can help you figure out what to stop doing, right? If, let's say, for example, you spend 4 hours a week on logistics, but none of your clients care about that. Easiest thing to cut, boom, you save some free time. So I'll pause there. Is what I'm saying helpful?
Yes, it is. And I think that one of the things that our clients love the most is our reporting, like our level of reporting, our transparency. We go really deep on a weekly, monthly basis into so many metrics, and see many other agencies do that. So that's something that clients like. Logistics side of things, I think, is actually where I was thinking of going and sort of, making that a standalone service, because right now with all of the new fee stack and the complexity and everything, like, who has the time or even the understanding to be able to make sense of all of this stuff? So that's something that we're looking at potentially as being a standalone service that could be attractive to a wide amount of Amazon sellers. You can really see an ROI on there if we're able to save you a lot of money on getting your inventory levels right. Yeah.
The more you talk about your clientele, the more I just get the feeling it's mid-market. And the reason I say that is because it's very strategic. Mid-market and enterprise just love data. They love the analytics. They love the strategy. So if all of your are you all in-house hires, all local to your population, or do you outsource at all?
We're all spread around the world, and our clients are mostly US based, but in Europe.
It is most of your employees client facing, or how many are client facing?
No, that's one of the main problems because of the strategic. It's mostly me that's client facing, actually, and that's one of the big problems that we have right now. Yeah.
All right. So whether you're the owner, you're now also the brand manager, right? Like, you're the director, you're the brand manager, you're the point of contact. All right. So what I'm hearing you say is that there's a big pie, and you feel like you can't eat the full pie, and you want to choose which slice of the pie to tackle and simplify things. Am I capturing this correct?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So do you guys do design?
Yes.
So when design got hot on Amazon, it was right when A+ content came out for Seller Central. And my contracts and everything that I did had to be redone. It took about 12 months after A Plus content came out on Seller Central. And at that point, demand for my design just went through the roof. When I first had my contracts at my agency, I did not separate design out. I had it kind of lump sum in there. And the challenge with that is I would give somewhat of a similar pitch to 1,000 SKU brand that I would a 5 SKU brand. And I would make a lot more money on the 5 SKU brand. So the challenge then became, well, how do I fix this? And so when you were talking about all of the services you offer, if your contract model is lump sum, and it can still be lump sum, whether it's flat fee plus revenue share or all revenue share, it can still be lump sum because the demands or the scope creep isn't diagnosed or isn't into the contract. So a strong contract redo is very difficult on historic clients. It is going to create some flighty clients. But in your head, Bev, as you think about our discussion today, I'm sure there's one client you wouldn't mind if they did fly away. And so if that's the case, I would start with that one, right? And give them the, hey, we're doing new contracts for 2024. Here are our new terms. Please review this and sign this by X date. And they're going to ghost you. So next time you're call with them, you got to push it. And then finally you're past the deadline. You're like, hey, if you guys don't sign this, I'm going to have to pause work. And then you lose the client. Like that is highly likely going to happen with at least 20 to 30% of clients when you try and redo contracts, at least. So you have to make that decision ahead of time, knowing the risks. But when it comes to design, I segmented that out. And then I started creating design tiers. Now, I don't tell my clients about my design tiers. It's not a secret. It's just confusing, right? And I didn't want to have to in my sales pitch like pull up my data sheet and explain all my design tiers. And design tier 5, you get premium A plus content and this number of designs and images and stuff, right? So whenever I pitch and what I know the client needs, I would just put it into the contract and I say, here's what I think you need. Does that sound reasonable? And if they say yes, we do business. But I don't give them options unless they ask for them. What I have found is when I give options when they're not requested, it creates decision paralysis, conversion goes down, and challenges ensue. So with design, I'd look at the account and I'd say, I think this is a design 3 account. Here's the contract pitch. We're going to charge X amount specifically for design, and we'll inform them about that. At a later point, they want to pull design back. We'll give them an updated quote. I never explain the design tiers. I just basically say, hey, here's what we'll do based on your needs, and I custom tailor it. So I'll pause on that. Does that give you kind of a playground to think about?
So the one thing that we actually do charge separately for is creatives. So whether that be
good.
Video,
all right, so
yeah,
you've been down this path before.
Yeah, that's actually separate anyway. It's all the operations day to day that we have in as a fixed fee or as a share right now.
All right, so next steps, it would make sense to me. Ask each client, what should we stop doing? What should we start doing? What should we do more of? And then if you find a trend, and there's only 5 clients, so it's going to be hard to extrapolate a trend. You might have to go deep on these questions or ask, tell me more, like to get enough data points. But if you ask these questions to the clients and all 5 of them and none of them talk about logistics, you could just say, hey, we're going to stop offering logistics as part of our package. If you'd like to continue with this service, here's the new cost. Let us know if you want to do it. And then chances are nobody will buy it. And then you'll be like, yes. All right. Any other follow-up questions?
Just what you would see in the market right now, the people asking for the standalone service. Can you give any insight into that? So you offer so many things as standalone.
Yeah, everybody is always asking for advertising management. This is also why for every one full service agency, you can find almost 100 PPC only agencies. And so that's a clear indicator of the market. There's no such thing as an SEO only Amazon agency. So that gives you an idea. Not a lot of people are asking for SEO. Now, I believe I am the front runner on all things Amazon SEO. I have a lot of public data that I share and I push the market, right? But I'm here to tell you the market doesn't care about Amazon SEO as much as I do, right? So I made a strategic decision that I was going to defend that ground, and I can tell you from personal experience, it really works for my clients. But I also will tell you that when my clients exit MAG, they don't go to the next guy and say, "Can I get more Amazon SEO?" Right? So can rule out SEO. Nobody is requesting that stuff. It's important, super underrated, highly recommend it, but the clients don't care. So when I think about, if you only did this as an agency owner and you did everything to focus on this one rooted thing that I'm about to say, nothing else would matter in comparison. And that is this: customer, what do you want? They tell you X, give it to them, and then ask them, was that what you wanted? And if you repeat that cycle nonstop over and over, week in, week out, grind, your clients tend to be pretty happy. And the other thing that you typically discover from this is scope creep happens. So you got to be careful on that. But and you expand service after service. They keep asking for more, and you're like, oh, I'll go figure that out, right? But that's what creates that blue ocean strategy, right? It's infinite. It's super valuable to them. It's valuable to you. It creates the value cycle. What I recommend not doing is paying attention to competitors, right? So I do not follow any other Amazon agencies. I obviously subscribe to their content and I'm looking for, techniques, but I don't care how big they are. I don't care what clients they have. I don't pay attention to any of that. There are certain agencies that are more like mine for sure. We've got competitive analysis, but I'm not following them on a day-to-day basis. And so the reason I mention this is because if you just try and go copy the market from a competitor standpoint, you'll run into the red ocean challenge. And that is blood in the water, and it's transactional, and it's a diminishing return and a constant transactional view. So that's the challenge with that. So I do see a lot of demand for design and PPC. I'm not seeing demand for logistics support or mild demand for like 3PL, like management, or like where should I send my stuff. The fees questions that we're seeing hit the market, a lot of Amazon FBA fee concerns, and a lot of people are really worried about that stuff. I would say that from a strategy standpoint, we have to be speaking about it, but from a what the client pays us on that question is a small bucket in comparison. Although they want the strategy, they don't necessarily want to pay for strategy to tell them how to avoid Amazon fees via logistics. And then finally, troubleshooting. Troubleshooting is the most requested a la carte service at My Amazon Guy. Sometimes people will hire us for a coaching session. Other times they just want us to fix a listing suspended or account issue or whatever. All day, every day, I get requests for that. I get like 50 requests a week from prospects who just come to me and say, I got a problem. Can you help me? So that's super hot. Now, the challenge with those prospects is they don't typically want to pay very much to fix their problem, and it's usually very difficult work. All right, so I just monologued a little bit there to give you an idea of kind of where we're at, or where we focus, or what I see at the market is.
Yeah, that was helpful. Thank you.
Well, very good. Bev, thanks for coming on and being our first guest. Feel free to continue watching on the YouTube side, and feel free to report back. Let me know how all that feedback goes. Always curious to see how that goes. You can always send us an email to podcasts@myamazonguy.com and let us know. While we wait for our next guest, I'll take some written questions here. If you want to be our next on-air guest, click the StreamYard link in the description and come on camera with us, just like Bev just did. All right, so let's go to the channel. I'm going to do our member questions first. So Ryan asks, hey, Stephen, what are some of the main metrics that you should provide to clients to show growth, apart from the obvious ones like increased sales, decrease ACoS? Those two are generally enough. However, the more strategic, the more mid-market the brand is, the business is, the more data they want. So keyword ranking gains, search query performance reports. I'm a big fan of showcasing CTR improvements, ranking improvements on keywords, market share growth. I love the market share report, the ICAP marketing funnels, I like to call it, impressions, clicks, add to carts, and purchases via the SQP, the Search Query Performance Report. There's just a tremendous amount of value in there. Outside of that, I think the value of additional data goes downhill very fast. However, sometimes people want to track other metrics on top of that. So I'm a big fan of traffic, conversion, click-through rate, impression counts, because it really, as a marketer, I'm a marketer. Most agencies are growth centers. They're not profit centers, right? If you're a profit center, you might be a strategic consultant. You might be a logistics company. But a growth center, anybody that generates traffic for a brand is a growth center. Those agencies and consultants need to focus on growth KPIs, growth metrics. So traffic, sales, and impressions, click-through rate. All those things I think are super valuable. So great question coming from Ryan here. Sellerman says, good afternoon. When emailing sellers from an email list, such as blank directories, what do you send in the cold email? All right. So I'm not 100% following that. Let me think about this. Okay. So I think what they're asking is like initial contact point, like first touch cold email. And so I generally share all of my trade secrets with one exception, and that is my outbound sales process. So if you want to know the answer to this specific question, I'm going to push you to buy my Amazon agency SOPs, and you can purchase those over at myguy.agency. And the reason why I hide this is because it's freaking really good. It's the most valuable thing I know how to do that most agencies don't. And so it's that outbound process. So feel free to pick those up. This is the agency operations at 3,500. The sales accelerator program, which has the answer to this particular question, is 10,000. It's a big investment. So apologies in advance for pitching that, but I can't answer that question live. Andrew says, Asana and project management. How do you structure Asana, and what does the workflow look like? So I love Asana. I actually am a stockholder of Asana. Unfortunately, I bought it and then it went down in value, but that's how it works sometimes. But I was a pretty big believer in the tech. I was like, man, this is the best project software ever. So I create a template when I onboard a client. The template has about 55 touch points. We do include a copy of this Asana template, by the way, in our Amazon SOPs for those that want to purchase that over at myamazonguy.com/SOP. And in that template, there are tasks like set up campaigns, set up the SEO, do the keyword research, on and on and on. And so I like to structure all the one board per client. I do not like multiple boards per client. I've had challenges with that. And if you're working multiple Amazon accounts, I would do for the same client. Like let's say they have 3 accounts, I would recommend one board for each account. So that's how I structure and organize it. Feel free to ask any follow-up questions on that. What other lead generation tools do you use other than email lists and YouTube? So we have a very sophisticated process on how we do lead generation. Unfortunately, I can't answer that one question live. It's the only thing I can't answer live is anything related to outbound sales. Andrew says, also longtime fan and follower. Thanks for everything you do. You're very welcome, Andrew. Jeremy says, same. Well, you guys can come on camera and talk to me. Come on in. All right. So to ask your questions, click the StreamYard link. It's right there. You have to have a webcam. Got to come on and don't be camera shy. Ollie says, part 1. Hey, we sell on Vendor Central and our images for the different regions keep swapping. Ouch. For example, our German images will be live on Amazon UK and our English images will be live on Amazon DE. That is not good. The challenge is definitely Vendor Central. There's no question about that. On Seller Central, I do not experience this problem. When a vendor contribution issue like this occurs, you are at the mercy of Amazon, and you may want to ticket Vendor Central and specifically ask them to lock the listings down. One other thing that you could do, there's some downsides to this, but you could switch the UPCs per market, and that will keep the data congruent. So UPC 123 in the UK, it's now UPC 124 in Germany. The downside to that is the reviews will not share between markets if you have separate UPCs. So generally, most people do like to keep the UPC the same. But with data issues, your data issue is bad enough that I would be worried about that, because I'm gonna guess you probably load lots of brand registry tickets and run through that. Let's go to the part two. I've tried to use the vendor image country link for uploading images and changing the size of images when uploading, but doesn't seem to be working. Ollie, my best guess is you have a category contribution coming from the vendor team. So there's some manual overrides. And one thing that a lot of people don't know is that there are multiple versions of the data of the catalog behind the scenes. There is the seller central data, there is the brand registry data, there's the vendor data, and then there's and that's like when you load it to vendor central, and then there's the category vendor team on top of that, and each of those can be overruled accordingly. So it's supposed to go like this: the tiers are supposed to be seller followed by brand registry, followed by vendor, followed by category. And so you're very likely getting overridden by the category manager. Huge pain to get that one fixed. How long did it take you to gather warm outreach through YouTube and LinkedIn? So I did it day one. So first client came in off a LinkedIn post. Within 48 hours, I had a contract signed. And that was, I made one post, boom, I got an introduction, off to the races. I immediately went and shot YouTube videos. So YouTube has been one of my keys to success. I have about 2,000 videos on YouTube over at youtube.com/myamazonguy. And every topic that I've shot was generally pushed by one of two ways. Way number one, a customer asked me a question. And I said, cool, let me shoot a video every time I get a customer question. Easiest way to make content, 3 to 5 minute snips. And the content was to serve that customer and answer their question, and then also be marketing material. And I loaded it to the channel. The benefit to doing this is that you create a library of nonstop value, right? Just like I talked with Bev, our first guest, live, asking about, customer, what do you want? Then give it to them. And then did you get what you wanted? Right? Like, that's what the customer was asking for. Customer would be like, how do I solve this error message? And then give me the error code. And I'd go research and I'd go crack it. I'd solve it on their account, and then I'd shoot a video. Or I had a listing that was suppressed, or I had another challenge. And so anytime a customer gives me a question, I shoot content on it. That was way number one. Way number two is where I want the market to go, or Amazon news, or trending things, right? So Amazon started experimenting with the SEO field. They moved it from 250 characters all the way up to 2,500. And that was a major change. It's like 10x the SEO juice. And so we made content about it. We announced the change, and then we followed it, and then we tested it, and then they just revoked it all, and it was kind of a wasted process. But now we're back to 250 bytes again. So that's generally how I do that. Now, on my website, I get 50 contacts a week minimum, and as high as a 75. And most of those contacts go something like this. Hey, I saw your YouTube video. I have a problem. Can you help me? And then a portion of those become full service clients. Majority of them become an a la carte pitch service opportunity. So we do have one guest on the back, but no webcam yet. So Tobias, if you get that webcam working, we'll pull you on. Shaw says, can we import our reviews from Amazon to use them on our Shopify website? I actually do believe that's possible. The tools and the data integration on that is a moving target. I don't remember which tool I used. They broke 2 years ago and it stopped working, and then it works again. So, but I do believe that's possible. Ryan asks, if clients just start out with the SEO optimization or graphic designs, what's the best way to get them to move into more of a full service package? It's a difficult process. It's kind of a dance, right? We do the work. We ask them if they liked it. If they say yes, then we say, cool, you want more service? And sometimes they say yes. Sometimes they just ghost you and go away. So the more specific you are, or if you have access to the other parts of the account, like maybe they gave you access to the PPC and you're like, hey, by the way, I see an opportunity here. I don't see anybody's negated advertising keywords on this campaign in 72 days. This is losing you $700. Would you like me to help manage this? Here's how much it would cost, right? If you get hyper specific, since you already have access to the account, it can be very, very valuable. So we created a client project management system. Moment we finish a project, we then pitch. I'll be honest though, the response rates are low on that because if somebody comes to you to hire you for a transaction, they typically think in transactions, right? This is the small to medium business operators. And that relationship is very difficult to go from transactional to partnership. If it doesn't start with partnership, it's unlikely to transform into a partnership over time. We do, and sometimes partners want to test something transactionally before they become a partner, and that can happen. But generally speaking, it's a low converting thing. I do a free audit for a customer. What's the best way to do it? Which metrics should I focus on? So Marvin, I would do whatever you are going to pitch the service on. So if you're really good at PPC or keyword analysis, then give them an introduction focusing on their situation. The more you personalize that outreach, the better. And so if you get access to an account, go in, screenshot, give them their own metrics, analyze it. You're basically giving them free consulting advice. And then say, hey, if you like this or if this was of value, here's the cost to work with me. And I find that to be a highly converting activity, but it is a time suck. And a lot of people just ask for free advice. So you got to decide like where your scope creep's going to be, where you put your barriers. So for example, I do not take invites to do free audits. And so I know that's going to lose me a portion of a business, but I also know it's going to save me a lot of time not giving out free advice. So you got to make a decision on what you want to do there. Gregoire says, hi, the keyword rankings seem to be stuck in the middle of the first page. I have tried to push through SEO, PPC, following your YouTube videos. However, nothing is changing. Any tips? So it's going to most likely be a CTR problem as the next best thing to do. So what I would recommend doing is updating the main image, add a keyword to it, and then also add all the accessories, make sure the customer understands what the product is. And if you posted your ASIN and we looked up in search, we probably figured out really quickly what to do. We do offer this as a very affordable service. We call it our image CTR hack. You can, if you're an Amazon brand, you want to hire us to do this, we do this over at myamazonguy.com/IMG. Promo code CTR for click-through rate to get 50% off this. Normally $100. We'll get to you for 50% off since you're following our content and we love you. A lot of content explaining how to make this work. So Grigor, first thing I would do is update the main image, follow this content here. Here's some kind of before and afters so you can see what that looks like. Cookie baking sheet. You can smell the difference, right? Hello Me journal. Don't even know this is for kids. Well, it's not just white pages in the middle. So it can be super valuable there. All right, so we've got our next guest coming on. How's it going, Shah?
Yes, I'm good. Steve, how are you?
I'm doing good. How can I help you today?
Thank you so much. So first of all, really, thank you so much. Last year, you guys helped us a lot. And now we are actually going to hire you guys again for the PPC and all other services as well. My question was, we have almost 120 ASINs on Amazon UK. And last week, I actually sent message to one of your team and asked about how much obviously you will charge. There was not really a proper answer because I asked that if some account have 1,000 ASINs and we have 100 ASINs, how you guys, will charge, for example, the PPC to manage the PPC?
So generally speaking, we would manage PPC at a starting package at $1,500. If you're a client with other things with us, sometimes we can bundle it, but we don't charge based on the SKU count for PPC generally. So easy answer there. I want to find out why we dropped the ball with you, and I'm hoping it's not mud on my face, but sometimes there is. So if you wouldn't mind, send me an email, and I will get to the bottom of that and make sure you get a contract within the hour. Does that sound good?
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So send me an email over at podcast@myamazonguy.com, and we'll route that really, really fast and take care of that.
Right.
While I have you, that's a good thing to get done. While I have you, any other questions?
Other question was regarding, to importing these reviews from Amazon. Yeah, I know. Yes, there are some tools we can import
Yep.
those reviews. But the main question is it according to the Amazon, obviously, the policies or whatsoever, really?
Like Shopify is okay with review importing. They're totally fine with that.
Yeah, we are actually really, putting a lot of effort to build our brand. Just
Yep.
really eventually want to get rid, from Amazon, the thing. So that's why we have almost a lot of really reviews which we want to import and then want to use on a
I
website.
think it's totally fine. There's even a way to import Amazon reviews to Walmart, although I haven't been able to replicate it. It's been challenging, but it's possible. But I think importing to Shopify is actually on the easier side. It might only take like an hour. There are many tools that can export reviews. Bagels.io might be one of them. It's been a long time.
Yeah,
since I've
other
used
day
it
I
before.
had a look as well. Yes, there are
Yeah.
a few. Yes, yeah.
But you can do a couple of things here. You can export the reviews and put them into the Shopify system. I think it's totally kosher in my opinion. Another thing you could do is add the Amazon badge to the listings or your website, and you can buy from my website or you can buy on Amazon. They can click here. And that also will increase conversion. A lot of people don't want to do that. They want the customer data. They want to push them to the site. But I'm here to tell you, if a website has a 1% conversion rate and Amazon has a 10% conversion rate, sometimes it makes sense to push them into Amazon, right? So,
Right.
but you can make a choice on that. But I think your original intent to import reviews is totally fine.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to send you, email on
Perfect.
that address to discuss, the PPC and all other services as well. Yeah,
I would
because
love to serve
we
you, of course.
eventually want to switch over to you guys, really, everything.
Yeah, we obviously would love to serve you.
Thank you
Not
so
every
much.
day I get called out, and probably rightfully so, for my team dropping the ball. But here we are. I love it. We'll take care of you.
Thanks a lot.
All right,
Thank you.
thanks for coming on,
Thank
Shaw.
you.
We'll see
Thanks a lot.
So one of the things I do as an agency owner is I always audit all the way down into the weeds, right? So you got to have like the big picture, and you got to have all the way down in the weeds, and you have to stress test the system. And generally speaking, I have to rotate through every 90 days. So in this particular instance, we might have missed a communication, and that can happen, people mistakes, whatever. But the system should have caught it, should have had like an alert bell to do a follow-up or something. And some of the programming that I'll go do and double check is exactly how I chase that. So I love becoming aware of problems at my agency, but I love it even more if my team brings them to me and I don't be the one that discovers it. But as an agency owner, you have to go in and dive and delve into fixing everything. Always got to do that. Okay, so let's go back to the list of questions. And if anybody wants to come ask a live question today, we're actually surprisingly light on guests today. Usually we're slammed with like 10 in the waiting room. Hit that StreamYard link. You'll be able to get lots of time with me today if you want. Okay, so let's go back to the list of questions. I see a lot of important people leaving MAG. How do you handle this? So there's actually some silver linings here. First of all, I like to call it graduation, right? I'm an education company. And if there's nothing I can teach somebody anymore, it makes sense for them to graduate. The fact that people are noticing that people are graduating from MAG shows you how powerful content is, right? So at an agency that's not doing content, at an agency that doesn't have multiple faces, right? So I'm a founder-led brand, but there's a conundrum there. If I don't bring in more faces, then I'm isolated to being a founder-only brand. But if I bring in additional faces, what happens? I teach all of my trade secrets. I give them all these skills, and they gain a following. And then when they graduate, some of that following will go with them. Now, I'm here to tell you that I like that. And I think, take John Aspinall, for example. He just graduated, went to PickFu. That dude is going to go to like 40 Amazon conferences in the next year. He's going to be speaking about CTR like crazy. And I taught him how to talk about CTR. If you go back to my original content, I was doing CTR for 2 years, but John trumped me because he only talked about CTR for an entire year. And now he's like a leading CTR guru. Of course, PickFu was interested in that. We're on friendly terms. John exited on great terms, going to graduate and join PickFu. But it was a good marriage for them, right? Because he literally ate, slept, and drank CTR, click-through rate, all day and every day. So your question, though, is how do I handle this? And I have a 3 deep to a seat policy. There is no role at my company that I don't have at least 3 people that can fill that role. Now, if I am one of those 3 people, then it becomes challenging. So as an agency owner, I have tried to get a 3 deep to a seat mentality everywhere I possibly can, head to toe, from the sales funnel all the way to delivery. And so I overhire, right? So I generally have a pad between 10 to 20% more staff than I am required to sustain my clients' count at this time. And I do that because I'm always growing. So I always want that pad. If I lose some talent, then it's not impactful. And if I have a threat of loss of talent, I don't lose any sleep over it. I don't have to let somebody take advantage of the company, right? So that's kind of my philosophy on that. In the agency space, Gary Vee is very famous. He said this like seven years ago on camera somewhere. And he said, when I first started my agency, I'm quoting him, that they all told me that I would have 1.5 to 2 years on average tenure for an employee. And Gary Vee looked at me and said, I'm gonna get to 10. And I've met Gary Vee. I asked him to his face, I was like, how did you transition from 2 to 10 mentality? And if you listen to his content, everything he says is along the same lines. Take care of your people. I have tried to master this, and I'm here to tell you that I am still a novice. I have no idea how to go from 2 to 10. And so I had some people that were past the 2-year threshold. They were into the 3-year threshold. I do not know the answer to that. I haven't learned or mastered how to take care of the people so much that they want to stick it out longer than that. Our space is fast growing. It's very fast paced. And so it's very common to have a high churn environment. All agencies experience this. Now, if there's a boutique out there, they're less than 10 employees, that they might have a very different structure where it won't be as common. But any mainstream 40 plus client agency will have high churn employees. So 3 deep to a seat has been my solution to that problem. And I look at us as kind of like an education company. And so a lot of people who have the My Amazon Guy tag on their LinkedIn profile, on their resume, they tend to get hired more because of the reputation. So that's a good thing, right? Some people would be like, oh, you're going to be, risking poaching. And I'll turn that on its head. I think it's beneficial that my reputation is so good that people want to hire people that have worked at My Amazon Guy. Here's why. It attracts talent that is seeking reputation enhancing talent, reputation enhancing environments, right? So I will be able to attract better talent because my talent is in demand, and it's a never ending improvement upon that. All right. So we got our next guest coming up on here. How's it going? How can I help?
Oh, good. Oh, good. We just started. How are you, by the way?
Dude, I'm doing good. I love doing AMA. You never know what you're going to get. So hit me up.
True. Well, we started an agency about a week ago, so it's pretty
Congrats.
brand new. Thank you. We got our first client. We're just over delivering for him. Background on us: we're a 7-figure e-commerce seller as well. So we did a bit of work for our friends for their Amazon and eBay accounts, and they skyrocketed. So they just said, "Why don't you do it yourself?" I was like, you know what? Let's offer a service. And then I Googled Amazon full service, eBay full service, and you were the first guy to pop off. I was like, all right.
Woo-hoo,
and then
yes. Maybe I know something about SEO. Who knows?
Right. And then I started looking at all your videos, especially the agency ones. My question is, what would you suggest as the best client acquisition for me right now?
So I love to look at this graphic I'll put up, and I took this concept from Alex Hermosi, and that is, almost got it up on screen here. Stand by just a second. That is the core for lead gen. So when you're first starting out, the top left quad is the best quad. And then as you develop your agency, I would recommend going top left to bottom left to top right to bottom right. I am just starting bottom right, just barely scratching the surface there. I didn't start cold outreach until 3 years ago, and it's extraordinarily difficult. So these first two quads would be where I'd recommend year one to focus. And so the content piece, it's going to be a little bit easier to talk about the content piece. But before we do that, the warm outreach, the one-to-one, this is where you literally call people up, anybody in your network, one-to-one, and say, hey, I've started an agency and I'm looking to do X, Y, Z. Now, if you feel like you have strong case studies, you feel like your background and your seller experience is enough, you can go straight in and pitch them. But what Alex Hermosi teaches is when somebody's first starting their agency is to go give out 6, 10 free 90 days of service. And it could be shorter in our sector. I think you get away with 60. But basically what you're looking to do is to get the accounts under your belt, to get those reps, right? So today I was actually at a gym today with an MMA guy who's trained his entire life in jiu-jitsu. And, I'm grappling on the floor with this guy. He's on top of me, showing me these moves. I'm on top of him, and he's walking me through all of these, blocking and folding and whatever. And like, I understood what the dude was saying to me. But when I was going through the motions and I had to do multiple body part movements at the same time, I freaking couldn't do it. Right?
Jiu-jitsu is hard. Jiu-jitsu is hard.
It's super hard. And so walking away from that experience, that was my first time ever grappling. Very, very difficult. The reason I triggered this is because you need reps, right? And so I know as a novice in jiu-jitsu trying to train with a master that he's going to crush me, right? And there's no chance I'm going to ever have a piece of leverage on this dude. It's going to take a decade, right, to even potentially catch up, if that. But today I was moving muscles I hadn't trained before, and my hips, holy crap! Every movement started with a hip in jiu-jitsu, just blew my mind. So you have to have reps. So when you're an agency and you go to pitch somebody, and they say, "Well, how many accounts you currently manage?" and you say, 2. They look at that. They judge that, right? But if you went out and gave 8
well,
accounts...
to be honest,
go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt you. To be honest, for us, I think the advantage we have is a lot of agencies don't even sell on the e-commerce platform. We sold for years. We do 7 figures every year. So that's pretty easy for us. And the work we will do for them, we do it for ourselves every day with great results. So I think that's a big selling point.
I agree. I do agree with that. So if you think that's enough, you can skip the reps idea, but a lot of people listening might have found value in that. And you can jump in and go straight to pitching. So call people up one-on-one. Hey, I've started an agency. Here's what I do. Here's my track record. Do you or someone you know need this service? Can you help me out today, best friend? Can you introduce me to an Amazon brand today? Right? And ask for help. And if you've got the reputation and you have those relationships, the one-on-one should generate you to $1 million by itself. Now, the content, though, and this is where the deeper dialogue can start, that's what got me to 10 million. And it's super scalable. And that's quad 2, the bottom left, the content. And so every time I got a customer question, I'd shoot a video. Every time I had an idea enter my brain, no matter how stupid it was, I shot a video. I never edited. I just published after published. And my style had, I used to be a TV reporter. So I was like 90-second stories, right? Maximum. So most of my content is short form. And YouTube is a long form platform. However, I found that, my audience resonated with straight to the point, simple. Just tell me what I need to know, right? And what's in it for me, right? So like all my content pieces, what's the topic? What's in it for me? What's the impact? How do I do it? Like every single piece of content over and over and over again. And because I was trained in that style, I had the reps to keep the rep thing going. it was very easy for me to generate content. Now, 6 years in, the amount of ground that I've already covered, it's difficult to come up with more ground. So typically what you need to do is write down a list of your have you done an ICP model before? Like your ideal customer profile?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Okay. So if you know your ICP for where you want to take the agency, what are their top 10 problems? Right.
And top 10 pain points. All right.
Yeah. And get as much data on that as you possibly can, even try and rank those problems in order of magnitude and impact. And then do two things. One, figure out the fastest way you can add value to an account and do that first on as many accounts as possible. And second, shoot 3 pieces of content on those top 10 problems. And then after you've done those 30 pieces of content, do it again and do another 3 pieces on all 10 and never stop doing that. Right. So my channel, I have 73 videos on PPC. I have 120 on SEO. I've got 500 catalog troubleshooting issues.
Wow.
Right. We did AMAs every week for 6 years. We did all these different things. And so that content library produces, I could look up my YouTube analytics. I would even be okay sharing this. So I'll probably do that. But the amount of when I was trying to hire a new integrator at my company, and I came up with this really cool interviewing technique. I've never heard anybody do it before, but I basically said, hey, here are some basic stats of my company, $20 million agency, 500 employees. I want you to draw me an org chart and tell me like what you think my agency looks like. So I didn't want to post or go off the fly here on fake analytics. That's why I'm actually posting my real ones here. But like in the last 28 days, 4 weeks, I've had 126,000 views. None of these are advertised. These are all earned media views. 8,000 hours of watch time is a freaking lot of watch time, right? And think about how niche our space is.
That's what I was about to say. It's very niche.
Very niche. So that's 8,000 hours of sales tape, as far as I'm concerned, right? And by the way, obviously a lot of people that watch the content will never buy anything from it. There's 100% true.
But probably 2 to 3% do.
I only need 1%. 2 and 3 would be great, right? But I only need 1%. And the other nice thing about this watch time right here is that I'm telling you the virtual assistants that I hired, and I focus heavily on the Philippines. I've been to the Philippines twice. I love the Filipino culture. They are more American than I am, I feel, in many ways. They also can sing better. Their karaoke is off the charts good. And they also have South Korea right next to them, influencing that with K-pop and whatnot. But I digress. So the amount of employees who first start in our space and they get hired by a brand, they get hired by an agency, whoever hires them, and their boss is like, go do this. And they're like, how do I freaking do that? And the boss is like, I don't know, figure it out. And what do? They go to Google, they find my video, and then video after video, I solve 20 of their problems. They're like, why am I working here? I should go work at my Amazon guy where I can learn. So then not only does this become a funnel for clients and prospecting, it becomes a funnel for hiring. And that's my defense. I'm an education company. Number one reason somebody joins MAG is to learn. Number one reason they stay is because they never stop learning. And I try and do it that way. So those are some high level stats. And you can see like which videos do the best and all that. But from a high level, I just wanted to share 8,000 hours a month. And like if you tried to calculate that, right? Like in a sales, how much would 8,000 hours of labor cost? Throw an hourly rate on it. Let's just say it's $25. That's $200,000 a month in salary that I save from a sales team having to do demos, right?
And it compounds because that content doesn't really get lost.
Correct. Now, some of it gets out of date. I have to redo some things 100%, but like it ranks. And I'm at the top of Google after video after video. And so when somebody enters the space and they see that impressions, like for the first 5 years of MAG, I didn't spend more than $20,000 on advertising my brand, right? And so it's affordable, right? Like the content. So I went really deep on the content question because I'm obviously super passionate about it, and it's been a fundamental key to my success. I also post multiple times a day on LinkedIn. I'll be honest, it's very difficult to track whether I acquire clients from LinkedIn. I'm not sure I do. Most of the time, it's the people that engage the content are other agencies or other virtual assistants, quite frankly. But I do it anyway, and I actually enjoy doing it. So feel free to take it from here. Ask me any follow-up questions, but content, good.
It sounds like content, great.
Yes.
Oh, do you still think that most of your customers come from the content? I mean, you would probably know.
45% do. 55% come from my outbound process.
Wow. So you 180, huh?
Yes. So I was 100% inbound, got to 10 million. And then I said, I could probably start some outbound processes. And I went and cracked the code and figured it out. You can obviously do a lot of things to get started with an outbound process. But whatever you do, you have to be so good at it internally. Like the best of the best do it all in-house. And that's the best piece of advice I'll reveal on that front. But content is good enough to generate a $10 million agency. And there are probably some agencies that you and I will never hear about. We have no idea who they are, that only do outbound and have no content. And that's possible too, but it's way harder. I'm telling you, way harder.
A lot of repetition. It's a lot because, outbound is so much repetition and calls and calls and calls.
And then I will name one agency. It's called Fountainhead Me or something like that. They don't do content. They don't do outbound. They only do PPC. And I know this because they spend like $50,000 a month on AdWords. And I'm like, oh, man, there's no way I'm going to compete with the amount of data that they're spending on. And they're a way smaller agency, right? So it is possible to skip the quads. That's kind of why I gave the exception. In anytime we have like a PPC MA, every question ever could be answered with, well, it depends. The same could be true in agency land. The same could be true in the acquisition models. Well, it depends. What are your goals? What are you trying to do? What are your skill sets? All of that is going to apply. So I'll give exceptions when I think it's appropriate. But generically, if we add labels and say go west, here's been my experience.
Very interesting. And Meta ads, you don't do any of that? Facebook and Instagram?
I don't. Now, I do have some intentions to try and go upstream. I'm a master at small to medium business. The amount of mid-market customers that I have is a fraction of my business. And I honestly, I don't feel like I have any enterprise customers. I have some mid-market, no enterprise. So if I want to go enterprise, I will have to do some of the things that you're qualified to do. Instagram, Shopify, all of those things. Now, did I dabble? Yes. Was I an e-commerce director for a decade before I started an agency? And can I do some of these? Yes, I can. But creating an agency and going and trying to be a 10 out of 10 on so many different areas has so many problems. And Bev, who was our first guest, kind of is a good case study about how if you go an inch deep and a mile wide, what problems that creates, right? Versus going an inch wide and a mile deep, which I did on Amazon, I can guarantee service. I can say I'm a 10 out of 10 on this. But if I tried to start an AdWords, bid tomorrow, I would be a 7 out of 10 at best, realistically, probably closer to a 6. And so when I pitch clients, and I do have some AdWords clients, right? So I'm not afraid if they see this, but if I do pitch them, I'm honest with them. And I say, hey, you should hire me because you have an established relationship and know my business model and system. But I want you to know there are probably 100 other agencies that can do Google AdWords better than me. And they hire me anyway, right? So I start with that. Then we'll get the reps in. We'll build the systems out. But like it just, the talent that you will have to hire, the diversification. And if you try and scale an agency and you go too dynamic and you go broad, then your bench is going to have a problem. You're going to have to either hire 150K salaries for almost all roles, or you have to create pod systems and directors, and there's a director of PPC who's qualified to do all this stuff, but then you have to deal with their high personality and their egos. There's just a lot of theory to talk about with scaling an agency.
It complicates. I mean, For us, we'll concentrate. I would say the biggest concentration will be Amazon because that's where our biggest skill is, and eBay as well. We use eBay a lot. TikTok Shop is something we just started like the last 2 months, but it's very, very similar to eBay. So I almost put it in the same categories, to be honest. It's very, the traffic is just insane on TikTok Shop. Let's see if they can keep it up, really.
So identify your ICP, which sounds like you've done. Build out content that addresses the ICP. Create an email filtered list, go to market, and hit it home. And then the hardest part is getting customers to say yes, to pay you to do those things. But so as you go through some of those motions, you're going to learn very quickly, like, okay, should I be doing grocery or should I be doing supplements? Should I be doing home goods, right? So whatever category you're in today, those actions may not transfer to those other categories. And so I would just advise or give caution that the simpler you keep the model at the beginning, the easier it will be to scale. Now, the counter to this is it will be harder to convert your first customers because you don't have the reps, although you have reps on your own account. You don't have the clientele reps. You don't have the sector reps. You don't have all the categories. So if you get too advanced too quickly, it's inundating.
All right, that makes sense. Did you start with any particular category when you were starting?
With Amazon, I was category agnostic, but there are many agencies that are category specific when they first start. So I'm aware of some agencies that only do supplements, only do grocery or whatnot. But I do have a preference on categories. I know that a home and kitchen brand, I'm going to give a home run on every freaking time. I crush that category. Now, if you come to me with an apparel brand, I'm going to tell you I can do it, but I'm going to charge you 3 times as much because you have 10 times the SKUs and it's very, very difficult to get an apparel brands to work on Amazon. So yes, I have preferences, but I'll work with almost anybody. I have a very open door policy. And the reason I do that is because I don't actually think I have great prediction skills about products working on Amazon or not. And so as proof to that, I just sold my Amazon brand myself. I had Age of Sage here as a soap brand and tumblers and all these tumblers. And I felt like I got obliterated. So, and then when I got hired by a mass client, and I thought this was going to not work, and it was going to be such a crap show that I ended up assigning it to like some of my weakest members of my team. And then it became my largest client because the pandemic hit. But, so like I can't predict products on Amazon, and there's just billions of products on Amazon.
Yeah, so many. The traffic is just insane. Yeah, thank you, Steve. I don't want to keep you too long.
No, I enjoyed our conversation. You asked really great questions. So that's why I went deep with you. Good luck on getting client 2. And I would love to hear how it goes. It will generally speed up once you get right around client 6 to 8, and then all of a sudden you're at 20. So those next 5 though are going to be a grind. And so start posting your results. Be like, hey, I just did this on this account. Anybody else interested in this? Hit me up. And just every day produce. So good luck, sir. Let me know how it goes. We'll look forward to hearing your updates in a couple months.
Thank you. Have a lovely day.
All right, we'll see you. Really enjoyed that dialogue. Really great to do there. So all right, we got a lot of questions in the queue that are written. We have time to take 1 or 2 more live guests on camera. If you're still curious, you want to join me live and ask any questions, please come on. Click the StreamYard link in the top of the description here. How much do I pay a VA? So we have a range anywhere from $3 to $20 an hour. It really depends on skill sets. And whatever the market's paying, we're competitive. But we also are one of the very few places that hire intern VAs. So if you're curious, you want to join us, you don't have any experience working in the sector, you can go over to myamazonguy.com/internship and you can apply today. We are always hiring. Look at these cute interns right here, right? We're always hiring. And the reason for that is because we're always growing. And so we always like to staff up and be prepared for all that. All right, Let's go to some more questions here. Ryan asks, how long is your standard sales cycle from initial contact to closing? So it's a lot shorter than you think it is. I do have a precise data point on this, but I'm very protective of some of my sales process. But what I will say is the less options to this part, kind of the site. Any tips on getting more clients to say yes in general, specifically to higher MRRs, monthly recurring revenue? I will say this: give them less options. The more options you inundate them with, the longer the sales cycle becomes, the more complicated it becomes, the harder it is to get them to say yes. So one size pitch, ask them what they want, give it to them, and then ask them, is that what you wanted, right? This can be done even before they become a client. This can be done during the sales process. Under deliver, over promise, all of those classic idioms apply here. But one of the things that I'm really good at is building a system and then executing it as fast as possible. So my sales cycle is super short and our conversion rate is high early on in the process. The faster you can get a no, the better, right? Because fast no's saves you time to go work on the other yeses, the potential yeses. So figure out how to get fast no's. Send contracts as fast as possible. I built a system that automates contract creation. We do give a copy of our contract in our SOP offering, and I make it so it's push button, so my sales team can put in a couple of key things, push a button, and send a contract within seconds. And so when we're on a call with someone, you're like, yeah, this is what you listen to them 20 minutes later, you're like, all right, here's my pitch. Does this make sense? Is this reasonable? Yes. Okay. Mind if I send you a contract? Cool. Boom. Hey, by the way, it's in your inbox right now. And that makes a dramatic impact because I have a lot of people that same day close, and it's incredibly awesome when that happens. I would be here to tell you the contracts that same day close have stayed with me 30% longer on average. They're generally better customers. They pay on time. They move quick. And they're great business owners. So I love a small, short sales cycle. Best thing I can say on that. How many potential clients do you think I get per week on YouTube contacting you? So anywhere from 55 to 75 on average. What is the average revenue? Basically my ICP. So we will work with any Amazon brand, anywhere from $0 to multi-million dollars per month. I'll tell you our sweet spot where we add maximum value as fast as possible is right around 50K a month up to 150K a month. So that range right there has been very good. So they're on the cusp or just became $1 million brand. We can double those guys very consistently and just add a lot of maximum value. Typically, people who get to that level have a good product. They just don't have a marketing strategy or they need to upgrade their marketing strategy. And since I'm a marketer, we come in and we upgrade it and have a lot of effect on that. So it's been really good. All right, so let's go through. All right, John's got a prospecting question on LinkedIn. I've heard that some interest, but I don't know how effective a cold DM. A lot of people are doing more LinkedIn DMs than they are doing cold emails because of Google's updates back in February. So I am hearing people focused on LinkedIn DMs. The challenge with LinkedIn is automation is harder. And LinkedIn is like, they allow it, but they don't like it. They could ban you for it. The question is how do you filter for this, right? So I do pay for LinkedIn Sales Navigator, but I don't spend any time in it myself. And I've tried to see if I can get account executives to go spend time in it or BDRs and whatnot. I don't see it being my preferred acquisition channel. I prefer email and I prefer cold calls and I prefer content. And I'm trying to learn advertising. But I do think LinkedIn is an undertapped market. However, having said that, I personally get 20 cold DMs a day. And I do not respond to almost all of them, right? Like, not a chance. Unless they spent 20 minutes analyzing my situation, had some very particular value point to add, and gave it to me for free, I probably wouldn't pay attention to them. So knowing what I just said, you could probably figure out what I do, right? I like to give value out. Is it according to Amazon policies to import and use our listing reviews on Shopify? Yeah, Amazon doesn't mind the export. They're just not going to let you import. So I don't see any risk on the Amazon front. This one's an interesting question. So Tobias asks, how much revenue do I expect an agency account manager to generate per month? So technically, they don't generate the revenue; they manage it. It depends on the skill sets. It depends on like how qualified, how experienced. And keep in mind, I do small to medium business market. So at an enterprise agency, somebody might answer this and say, "Oh, they manage 200K in MRR a month," and they might only be working one client, right? Could just be a giant client. But in small to medium brand management, I would say that the minimum that I would ever give a qualified brand manager would be right around $30,000. And you typically want to 10x whatever you're paying a brand manager in MRR managed. So that way you can maintain profit margins. So big range on this, though. I would say as much as 100K, but as minimum 30K of MRR managed for clientele. One thing that's unique about my Amazon guy is that we tend to manage more accounts on a brand manager or an account manager than most other agencies. My system is unique. It won't work for everybody. My system, I have a brand manager who acts as the strategist and the main point of contact, but they don't do any of the tactics. At a lot of agencies, they have a smaller team serving smaller amounts of clients. I have big teams servicing lots of accounts in my pod system. So one brand manager will have a project manager, a PPC specialist, a designer, usually right around 2 to 3 different Amazon specialists. They do all the merchandising, the SEO, etc. And I don't know if I said PPC and designer. I feel like I'm missing one. But project manager, PPC, SEO, design, Amazon merchandising specialist, and the brand manager. That's a typical pod for us, usually between 6 and 8 people, generally closer to the 8. And that system is infinitely scalable. It allows me to put anywhere from 8 to 16 accounts on somebody. And the reason for that is because they can rotate between the accounts. Look at my playbook. I have a really well-oiled system and built system that allows them to be speedy, deliver the orders, send the team off to do the orders. The team does the deliveries. They do the QA. They send it to the client. And it's effective rotation after rotation. Lots of reps, right? Moving those hips, jujitsu style. And that system's what's worked for me. But I will tell you that the average agency does very differently. They generally do 6 accounts per brand manager. And that brand manager is doing a lot of the tactical work. The challenge with having a smaller pod with the brand manager, account manager doing the work is that you lose margins super fast. Why should you pay a 100K salary to file Amazon tickets when you can hire overseas at $3 to $7 an hour, right? Like it's just, you don't want to have your best talent doing the least valuable actions or the least, basically, if you can SOP something, you should not have a strategist do it. You should not have a 6-figure person doing anything you can SOP. You should have those people client facing and doing strategy, doing things that you cannot put into an SOP. All right. I'm losing my voice. So that is going to be our show today. As a reminder, we have a case study over at myguy.agency that is super awesome. You're definitely going to want to check that out. If you want to learn more about what we've done, just go to myguy.agency. Our case study, you just click on the case study button or go to /case. And here I'll walk you through how I've built my mini empire, my $20 million agency, and you can learn all about it. A lot of cool things in there. At the very bottom, I even share what books I listen to, right? Like I'm giving a lot of detail. My favorite business book ever is The Road Less Stupid. Nobody knows about this book. It's so dang good. It's better than Traction, right? Every year, I come out with 5 books that were the best books of the year. On our conversation today, Blue Ocean Strategy was referenced. A lot of Blue Ocean Strategy. First Break All the Rules definitely had some influence on today's podcast. Extreme Ownership and good to great. Definitely some angles there as well scaling up. So those are some of my favorite things. Actually, link over to the book so you guys can pick them up, make it easy on you. So check that out. If you're an Amazon brand, you want to hire an agency, contact us over at myamazonguy.com. And I'm here to serve. If anybody leaves a comment on this video later, I will come back and answer your questions if I have time and the ability to do so. And if with that, I'll see you guys next month for our next AMA. And toodaloo. We'll see you guys.